So I came across a social media post where someone stated 10 reasons why parents hate teachers in that kind of language. Hate, not dislike, not despise, but they use the negative energy word, a negative, a low energy word, a low vibration word. Hate. They did not choose a synonym to kind of cushion it. But 10 reasons why parents hate teachers. And we must come to the realization that parents do hate teachers. The same as how you have some teachers who hate parents, there are also parents who do not like teachers any at all. It may not be all teachers, but a teacher in particular. Why would a parent do not like a teacher in particular? Though we are educators, and I try not to, as much as I possibly can, to speak in the public regarding to teachers, and especially when it is not positive. If someone is asking me about the profession and how wonderful the profession is, then of course I'm always up for that kind of conversation. But when people start to criticize teachers, I try to be mindful of what I say, how I say it, and where I say it. Very mindful. But of course, as an educator, I also have negative energy and negative things to say about some educators. And you'll find that in all professions. You'll find lawyers who will tell you that, look, stay away from that particular lawyer. There are doctors who will tell you that, look, those doctors, they're just in for the money. They don't really care. You have nurses who will tell you the same thing. You have police officers who will say, look, be mindful of those police officers over there because, I mean, they're not for law and justice. So in different professions, you'll find the same thing. Farmers will tell other farmers, be careful, that farmer is using some chemicals that's not healthy for your body. Mechanics will tell, be careful of those mechanics, because they are not doing their work professionally. So across different careers, you'll find people who will warn you about the behavior of some other persons in the same profession. Teachers, no different. It's the same thing goes for teachers. I have seen reasons why parents would not like teachers. And there's a number of reasons. There are more than 10 reasons, but some other reasons could very well be some teachers do not motivate children to succeed. Some teachers themselves are lacking in motivation. And usually they say that hurt people. That is true. When someone is themselves going through hard times or stressful times, they sometimes pass on that same negative energy to others. And there are some parents, there are some teachers who they were not motivated, they were not loved on, they were not cared for during their earlier years, and they grew up to be adults who are resentful, and they somewhat lack the ability or deny themselves the opportunity of loving on or encouraging or inspiring other children. So some teachers really lack motivation. They don't really motivate and inspire children to go forward, and parents pick that up as well. There are some parents who can feel that vibration coming from the teacher. There are some teachers who they don't really teach. They expect to teach through homework. A number of teachers do that. They spend the time in class doing, I'm not sure what they do. Let me say that they spend their time teaching, but the time was not enough. Let me put it mildly. They spend their time teaching, but the time was not enough. The hour or the 1 hour and more was not enough, and so they had to send home the homework so parents will pick it up from there and continue. There are some teachers who will tell you that when I leave school, that's it, it's done. And a number of educators are like that. And some parents really do not like that because if there's an emergency and they want to reach out to a teacher, the teacher will not answer until the following week. Like, for example, something happened on a Friday. They'll not respond to to a parent until the Monday. All right, they're working within the school time, and if the school time pass, you can't get them. And some parents are really upset at some teachers for that. Now, I'm not saying that you have to open up your phone to have a conversation with parents every single day of the week, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, I do. I mean, there's no day which I don't speak to my students. Even on Sundays, doesn't really matter. But there are some teachers who they're really strict on their time, and parents resent that. And I know how that feels when you want to get to a teacher and you can't get to a teacher, because I'm a parent also, not just a teacher. I'm also a parent, and when you want to get to a particular parent and you can't, a teacher, you can't get to that teacher. It leaves some kind of frustration, particularly when something happened during school hours and the matter was not dealt with, and you want some kind of clarity as so to move forward, and the teacher would not even respond to a text message. That kind of caused bad blood between parents and teachers. Some teachers are disrespectful as well. You know, yes, we're trained to be professionals. That's one of the first. That's the in our first semester at Some Child Teachers College, we were taught professional development, because we are professionals. Teachers are professionals. We're trained as professionals, and we're expected to be professionals. Though people do otherwise when they get into the classroom, or when you go out into the world after you have finished your studies and you collect that degree and you walk across the platform. The college can't tell you anything anymore, right? And you throw away that level of professionalism that you were taught during the semester, your first semester in college. But it was for a reason. It was because we are professionals. You know, we ought to act like professionals. And some teachers are really not professional in whatever in their conduct. They're not respectful at all. They will say anything they want to say. Some teachers, some parents also dislike the way in which some teachers behave outside of the classroom. Some teachers will say, okay, I'm not in school, so, but I do not think you can separate yourself from the profession. How do you separate yourself, your personal life? Some teachers will dress some kind of way on the weekend or at home or in their communities in ways which, ooh, doesn't look so good at all. I mean, this is your personal life, yes, but you are a professional. You know, how do you stop being a teacher? How do you do that? You know, when does a judge stop being a leader for justice in this community? So the judge should what? Go on the corner on a weekend and smoke a spliff and drink some alcohol and chill with his friends and then go into the courthouse tomorrow morning to be a justice of the peace. You know, so the police officer should what? It's okay to smoke a spliff in Jamaica, or when we're in most places. In some places in America, it's you can smoke a spliff. It's not illegal to have like a small quantity. So the police officer should be smoking a spliff on the corner, drinking some alcohol. I mean, having one drink is okay, right? But what impression do you give? You know, how do you feel if you see your lawyer downtown with his pants at his bottom and his in a marina and smoking a cigarette on the corner of the street, just chilling, you know, hanging out with some guys at the corner, and that's your lawyer going into the courthouse tomorrow? Or would you feel if you see a doctor doing that? You know, would you trust him to write a prescription for you to give you medicine if you just see him, you know, walking on the street doing things that normally people who are professionals do not do? We expect, the point I'm trying to make is, I'm not saying that anything is wrong with you wearing a marina and the slippers on the street. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we trust our professionals because they carry themselves in a particular way. There's a certain decorum in the way in which they behave. And the same is expected of teachers. We don't expect to see teachers dressed in things which the entire bottom is exposed, and arms, legs, and breasts are being shown on the street, and the teacher's coming into the classroom tomorrow morning on a Monday to tell you that you should be, disciplined and be modest in your community, and you should carry yourself a particular kind of way. That teacher would not be doing what they're preaching. And so you have parents who resent some teachers because of their lifestyle, the way in which they live, teacher and other women in the community, teachers who are male are sleeping around, teachers who are female are having relationship all over the place with different men. And some parents do not like a teacher for that. While you might have another parents who say, oh, leave the people alone, let them live their life. There are parents who are really offended of this kind of behavior from teachers. So the list could go on and on and on. I'm not trying to tell teachers how to live their lives, but I'm just saying that the reality exists where there are parents out there who despise us as teachers for a number of reasons, and we must consider them. I'm not saying that you have to do everything that people expect. We might not be able to please everybody. We might never be able to do so. But be mindful. Be mindful and be considerate. Your ambition as a teacher is not to please everybody, but to be modest in whatever it is that you're doing. If you're going on the street, you don't have to wear certain things. You don't have to be in certain company. You don't have to be everywhere something is being held. It's not every party you have to be at. It's not every music playing you have to be singing and dancing to. Particularly when you're out in the public. Eyes are on you. You're looked upon as a role model. You have to be a model. You can't help it. Once you're a teacher, you become a role model. Sometimes, as a teacher, sometimes you are the only person who a child look up to. Sometimes the child can't look up to their parents. Sometimes mommy's not there, daddy's not there. And you are the only figure they can look to as a source of support. So sometimes you are the hero of a particular child, and they're looking at you to see themselves as to how they want to envision themselves when they grow older. So we can't disassociate ourselves from those responsibilities. So I'm not saying that teachers are going to be perfect or can be perfect. I'm just saying that we have to be mindful. And the fact that parents hate things about us, of course, there are also 10 more things that we could hate about parents as well, but that's a different story for a different time, So we're not trying to be perfect teachers, but the reality does exist where there are parents out there and people in society who are turned away from the profession because of how teachers behave unprofessional within the classroom space and in their personal spaces.